Hey, I'm Dallas with Lower Gear Outdoors. We're an outdoor retailer in Tempe, Arizona, and among the various products we sell are included in our kayaks. One of the brands we sell are Old Town, and today we're going to put a Solix 10 from Humminbird on the new Old Town ePDL Kayak. Now, first thing I want to do is just point out a couple things on this one. It's early 2024. And they just came out with this. Let's take a quick look at it. It is based on the platform of their Big Water 132, which has been around for a while in both a paddle version and a PDL version. And this is the ePDL. And probably the best way to describe this is it is similar to an e-bike with a boost. So it appears to be a traditional pedal style, which it is, of course. But within here, there's also a motor powered by a 36-volt battery, and it's an assist. So you have your control screen here, and you can set it up from 1 to a power of 5 if you want to have just a little bit of a boost, or if you want to do nothing and just have it propel you. This one can do it. So it fits a pretty good niche that you don't have to have a pedal drive and a motor. But if you're in an area where you can't use a motor, then you can use it in pedal drive mode. So we're going to bounce back and forth between this one. This is one that's on display in our showroom. The one that we're actually going to install the fish finder on is for a customer who just bought one of these, and we'll get into that here next step. Okay, so this is the kayak that we're actually doing the installation on. And this is going to be a little weird in the how-to video world. A couple things are going to look like they're out of sequence. It's a long story, had to do with the video glitch. But this is the installed transducer. So this is going to be the first step that we're going to do. And then I want to show you a couple things here, and then I'm going to show you on the other kayak how we got here. So this is the transducer for the Solix 10. It has side scanning functionality on it. It's a really nice setup, 10-inch screen. Has some special requirements that we're going to have to deal with on the cockpit side. But just to show you a couple things. This is the bracket that came with the Humminbird. There are some adapters that are sometimes used, but we're not going to have to use them for this. One thing that we had to do a little bit different, in a lot of installations, the front of the transducer would be on up in here, but because of the way that the wire for the transducer was going to go up into the cockpit area, we felt it was better off shifting it this back way. We end up having to drill a couple holes into this, and we're only using 4 of the 6 allotted spaces. A couple things that we have to consider as far as the final position is this mount here that comes from Old Town. We'll show you how this fits to that. It has to be protected by the bow. So one thing we want to look at, if we just have a flat edge and we're doing this, it will clear. So there would be an argument for pushing it on down to have even greater clearance, but the problem is this, to achieve the side scan capability, this has to clear this part of the hull. So we felt that this was a decent compromise between having enough vision, if you will, headed out that way for the side scanning, but deep enough into the recess of the hull to make sure it didn't get damaged when bringing it ashore. So now we'll take a look at how we got to this point. So now we're back on the ePDL that was in the showroom, just to show you how we got to that point with the bracket for the transducer. Now this isn't the same transducer, it's actually from a different model, but you can get the idea. From the factory, this little plate is bolted to the hull here, and then this gets bolted to that. There's enough of a recessed area there to have the bolt head in there. So that's going to be that way. And then this is that bracket. The bracket gets hinged here. And then this whole thing, before I tighten it up, I'm going to make the adjustment up and down so that, one, the bottom of this is lower than this ridge on the bow, but is high enough so that the side scan transducer will come out and clear this. So it's just a matter of finding the sweet spot. And then keeping in mind on the actual installation with the Humminbird, we had to, because the way this one bracket has a notch for it, we don't have that on the Humminbird one, so we moved this entire piece, came back some to accommodate that without crimping that cable any. And then bouncing back to the actual installation, you can again see this is pulled back some. When you're installing this particular transducer for the Solix 10, you can always tell which way to point. This is going to be the backside. Although if you have a unique application, I believe there's a way with the graph where even if this was pointing the other way, you can reorient it on the screen that you're looking at so that you see what you want to see underneath the kayak. Now we've got the kayak flipped right side up. We've got a few placement decisions to make. This is the end of the transducer wire that's going to go into the back of the graph. We've got all of this extra wiring here. The Big Water platform isn't as friendly as some of the PDL platforms as far as wiring. On some models there's already a hole drilled here for the pass-through ports. In this case we're going to install a YakAttack extra large port to go through there, and we're going to drill it. This is for the motor connection. We're going to drill one right below that, and then that'll get the cables inside the hole. There are these systems here, and some people will just run the cables up underneath and down, but this customer wanted the pass-through ports, so we'll have the transducer going through there, have all the excess inside the hole, and the battery is going to be inside the hole, which we'll get into later, and then we're going to have it come back out here. The customer wants it on the gear track on the right hand, on his right hand side. I was originally going to put the pass-through port there, but after looking at it with the pedals, I don't want to have any interference here potentially. So we are going to drill the holes and install the pass-through ports to come out for the cable and the transducer to come out right here. I want to show you a couple things on the wiring pass-through portals. This is the transducer cable, and this is going to be the power cable. Neither of these are overly large, but the customer did want to use these YakAttack XL pass-through ports. So there's a couple of considerations. You get a variety of different sizes of these. We've sort of figured out that these two would work, and the way that they go, this is going to be the outward facing side, and this is going to go like so. You want to, there's two circles on those, that's all going to face out, and then that gets bolted down. YakAttack says use a 1.5 inch drill. I just had an 1 3/8 because if I look at it just like that, that's actually just big enough. I cut the holes out, but ended up having to sort of file them out a little bit, but I wanted to minimize the excess space around this little lip here to maximize the space between the holes. And here with the 1.5 one, you are starting to get a little close to where the holes that hold it on are. Here's the power setup for the fish finder, pretty straightforward. Customer chose a 23 amp hour battery. We have Dakotas here at the store, so we're going to go with this one. It'll have a 5 amp fuse is what Humminbird recommends for this. We'll end up putting these spade terminals so that it connects there. This is what goes into the back of the graph, and then we'll get this spliced in for that. One thing we're going to do is we're going to mount this in the front of the kayak in the bow hatch area, and we're going to put 2 strips of Velcro here, and then the other strips of Velcro on the flat spot that's right in the hatch, and we believe that'll hold pretty tight, but we'll give it a test and see. Okay, so we're mostly done with the installation. That's a little bit of cleanup. I'll show you how some of the wiring and everything ended up working. So this is the transducer cable that's coming up from the bottom going into the YakAttack pass-through port. We ended up adding just a little bit of silicone around it. If I had to redo it, I probably wouldn't put it in that location again. It's convenient, but you can't really get a drill in there, so you end up having to do it from the back side. So you can see it there, and matching all the holes and do all the drilling from the inside. So that's got the transducer, the cables in there, and it's zip tied out of the way. While we're in here in the hull, that's where we ended up putting the battery. It is Velcroed there on a flat spot. It's very secure. We have the quick connect, some yak power there, and that will then plug into here. The reason we did that was so that when you disconnecting it, you're not pulling on those spade terminals, which can sometimes yank the wires out. And then both the power and the transducer cable are coming back out here. Same thing. This one was easier to install. Just a little bit of silicone on the top. There's not much danger of any water getting in through there, but if it wasn't to come through, it would come through on the top. In this particular case, we got about 1.5 feet of slack in the lines, and then this is the fish finder itself. This is a giant mount. This is one of Ram Mount's D size, but this is a very heavy 10-inch monitor on this. That it's much heavier than even the 9-inch ones that we've done in the past. So this is I mean, pretty ridiculous, but that's what it took to hold it securely. The mount itself was like $150 or so. And then so there's plenty of line here for the cables, and it should be pretty much ready to go. Hope you learned a couple things. If we can ever help you out at the store, just let us know.